Grannies have been a welcome feature of this annual event in recent years. Thanks to the Grannies for helping to warm up all of you today. So welcome to the 137th anniversary commemoration of the Bayview tragedy, an event that occurred right here on May 5th, 1886. On that day, the State Militia fired upon some 1,500 workers who were marching in a nationwide campaign for the 8-hour day, killing 7. This massacre is one of the most significant moments in Wisconsin labor history. Today we remember those 7 martyrs as we recall when a group of organized workers, many of them Polish immigrants, marched on the iron and steel mill located on the lakefront in Bayview, seeking to carry a general strike to the workers at that plant. In the days before May 5th, the strike had closed virtually every major factory in Milwaukee as part of a nationwide effort to bring about the 8-hour day. Our tragedy occurred one day after the Haymarket massacre that killed at least 8 persons when a bomb was thrown into a rally of workers the night before. The Bayview plant was the last major employer still open for work, and the marchers wanted it shut down. They found instead the State Militia waiting along the hilltop on the mill grounds. The marchers were marching up East Bay Street at about Lincoln Avenue. They were perhaps 200 yards away when the militia captain ordered his troops to fire. At least 7 people fell dead or dying. Thus ended the bloodiest repression of organized labor in Wisconsin's history, and thus began a new chapter in the ongoing struggle for workers' rights. This struggle continues to this day, 137 years later. Realizing that the masses of workers in our society are still fettered by corporate greed, a diverse group of Milwaukeeans has commemorated this historic event every year since 1986. By learning our history, we understand more about the enemies we are up against and how we can face them. As the slogan of the Wisconsin Labor History Society goes, the more you know, the harder you fight. This commemoration is sponsored by the Wisconsin Labor History Society and supported by the Wisconsin State AFL-CIO, the Milwaukee Area Labor Council, and the Bayview Historical Society. The program is planned by a committee made up by members of both the Labor History Society and the Bayview Historical Society, along with area residents. We'd like to thank all of those who have worked to make this event happen. I would like to particularly salute Rich Hinderholtz, a retiree of CWA Local 4603, for supplying the superior sound system.
Attaboy, Richie.
And at the close of the program today, you are all invited to attend a post-event reception to be held at the Beulah Britton House, just a couple blocks down, home of the Bayview Historical Society. Refreshments will be served, and there will be a musical program, led by our very own Craig Siemsen. When I finish these introductory remarks, we'll introduce Craig Siemsen, who will lead us in a couple of songs. The reenactment of the 1886 tragedy will be next, produced by Barbara Lay and directed by John Schneider and Bill Kornbach. When the reenactment is over, we'll proceed with the laying of the wreaths for the honored dead. We will finish with our guest speaker, Alan Chavoya of AFT 212. Let the program begin. All right, I'd like to introduce Craig Siemsen, one of Milwaukee's most popular folk singers. He is a retired teacher and a union member, and he's honored to be able to join us. Please welcome Craig.
Yeah. Good.
Thanks, Piper. All right, well, is this thing gonna... That good? Good enough? All right. Hello, proud member of MTA Lifetime and Local 1000 Traveling Musicians Union. So we're gonna start out with a Larry Penn tune, and it's got a part for you, and then we're gonna do Larry Penn's Ghosts of Bayview after that. This is called Trickle Down. The rich man loves his money, ain't no doubt about that. He gets crabby, and he ain't happy when the profits ain't too fat. Any old way he can make it is gonna be alright, you see. 'Cause once his cup gets full of that stuff, some will trickle on down to me. Here's your part. Trickle sing that with me. Trickle down, trickle on down to me. The government should help him any way it can. Give him breaks and tax rebates and reinvestment plans. The poor man, he'll keep working just to keep his job around. Once he knows that it's his role to keep things trickling down. Here we go. Trickle down, trickle down, trickle on down to me. Down to Mar-a-Lago. Trickle down, trickle down, trickle on down to me. The businessmen and bankers, they all work to change the law. Keep them working people meek and keep the union small. That's the way they like it when no one makes a sound. Just work all day for what they say, till some comes trickling down. Here we go. Trickle down, trickle down, trickle on down to me. One more time. Trickle down, trickle down, trickle on down to me. Yeah, trickle on down. Thank you, Larry Penn. The years roll around and they yellow the page. History of labor don't mellow with age. The blood of the workers will always run red when the winds blow a time for a change. The ground here's hallowed, it's haunted, they say, with the ghosts of the workers that came here in May, when killing was seen as a duty by some to take back the 8-hour day. Here in Bayview, it's all quiet today, but you can still hear them call for an 8-hour day. The sound of the rifles has faded away. The bones of the rolling mill gone to decay, and only the halls where the puddlers met still stands like an 8-hour day. It's time once again for us to unite. It's time once again for labor to fight. Tell me, what will you do with your roses and rest if they take back the 8-hour day? Here in Bayview, it's all quiet today, but you can still hear them call for an 8-hour day. For board and for bed, to all who would give up on union for dead. The blood of the workers will always run red when the winds blow a time for a change.
Who's the awesome percussionist?
Come on, say your name for the lady.
Jahmes Finlayson.
How many years? Yeah, exactly. Exactly, more than you can count.
Thank you for coming today. I was here on May 5th, 1886. I had to be. Working 10 to 12 hours a day was killing people and had been for decades. And now, there was a national effort to change that. Workers needed a voice in such basic issues as how long we'd work every day. The movement had grown strong. We were winning. 12,000 of us picked May 1st to walk out for the 8-hour day. On May 2nd, a Sunday afternoon like this one, all of us strikers marched down Grand Avenue to a huge rally of 9,000 more workers at the Milwaukee Gardens on 14th and State. The 8-hour day movement, that's what we called it, that's what it was. Powerful speeches were made at that rally by leaders like Robert Schilling and the socialist Paul Grotkow.
The 8-hour day! 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 Fellow citizens, welcome to Milwaukee Gardens in this glorious celebration of our accomplishments. Today we celebrate May 1st, the day we no longer toil for more than 8 hours in a single day. Last Friday, April the 30th, 6,000 people left their workplaces to demand the 8-hour day. Yesterday on May 1st, the Central Labor Union and the Knights of Labor joined to close all the North Side bakeries, breweries, and foundries, swelling our ranks of strikers to over 12,000. And today's parade saw almost every working man and woman in Milwaukee participating. Tomorrow, the Polish workers of Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul Railway have vowed to close their shops and to close the Alice Reliance Works. We even expect to close the giant rolling mills of Bayview before the day is finished. So, I ask you, why all this fuss? Why are we walking away from jobs that provide bread for our families? The real question is, why should labor fill the world with wealth yet live in want? To work like slaves, to see our wives and children in rags, to rise at 4 a.m., work 12 hours, then throw our tired bones on a bed at night, to live without leisure, without rest. This is not a living. It is dying, a slow, lingering torture until exhaustion takes its toll and a job, a limb, or a life is lost. The hours of labor must be shortened. 8 hours for work, 8 hours for rest, 8 hours to do what we will. The 8-hour day! 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 We strikers were in the thousands, but there were powerful people against us. Politicians and community leaders like Milwaukee Mayor Emil Walber, Edward Alice, the owner of the Alice Reliance Works, and the loudest of them all was our own governor, Jeremiah Rusk.
We can have no sympathy with socialist voices that deny the right of private property. They are as un-American as monarchy and as treasonable as secession. Republican institutions and individual liberty go hand in hand, and they must and will be loyally maintained. These strikers would destroy justice and liberty. The present agitation is not a question of wages and hours, but of human rights and manhood. Of the owner's rights to run his factories, and the workers' rights to sell him their time and labor. Where one person engages to work for another, the product belongs to the employer. The workman's claim ends with the receipt of his stipulated wages. Every citizen must and will be protected in the management of his business. Here in Milwaukee, you harbor agitators who have been driven from the fatherland for violation of laws. Now, they believe they will be permitted to violate the laws here, to incite mobs and riots. Such men should not be permitted to promulgate their doctrines in this glorious state of Wisconsin among her industrious, law-abiding citizens. The intelligent people of Wisconsin will never permit the red flag of anarchy to float within her borders. And so I say to the commanders of our militia, whenever the time comes for you to tackle a mob in this state, I'll be there, and you'll get your orders from me.
The next day, May 3rd, we set out to close the factories.
8 hours of work.
8 hours rest. 8 hours to will. The 8-hour day. The 8-hour day. The 8-hour day. We will. The 8-hour day.
When we got to the rolling mill, we were met by the militia, made up of grocers, storekeepers, and saloon owners, people we thought were our friends and neighbors. Governor Rusk sent them to Bayview to stop us. After confrontation and militia warning shots at the rolling mill gates and office, around 350 militia entered the grounds. Without provisions, we dispersed. But not for long. On Wednesday, May 5th, 1,500 of us started out early for the Bayview Mill. We promised to close the mill for good if the owners wouldn't respect our demands. We knew the politicians and the mayor were against our 8-hour movement, but we didn't imagine the lengths to which our governor, Jeremiah Rusk, would go to stop us. None of us was armed. We walked 4 abreast down Mitchell Street with a banner and a picture of a clock face set at 8. The 8-hour day. The 8-hour day. The 8-hour day. The 8-hour day. From St. Stanislaus Church, we walked toward the mill, but the militia was waiting for us. When the governor was notified that we were heading to the mill in full force, he sent these orders to the captain. Fire on them! And so the captain told his forces, pick your man and kill him. Shoot him where he stands. Seven of us were shot in the street by fellow citizens for marching in line. I understand. Casimir Dudek. Casimir Dudek, age 30, was carrying the red flag at the head of the march. He was shot in the left cheek and arm. Half of his lower jaw was carried away by 2 bullets, and he died shortly thereafter. Albert Erdmann. Was shot through the abdomen and killed at age 19. Martin Jankowiak was 25 years old. He was shot through the chest. Extreme unction was administered to the dying man by Father Levansky. Frank Kunkel, age 69, lived in a little shanty on South Bay Street. He was shot through the heart while feeding the chickens in his yard. He left a widow and 1 child. He wasn't even in the march. Johann Maschka was shot through the bowels. He died in great agony. He was 24 and left a widow and 1 child. Frank Novarchik was just a schoolboy, a bystander, age 13. He was shot through the upper abdomen by a stray bullet. And Michael Rukowski was shot through the breast, died shortly thereafter. He was 40, married, and had no children.
Let's all applaud again the actors and directors and volunteers who participated in this dramatic program. Now, following the reenactment, we are pleased to introduce our speaker for today, Alan Chavoya. Alan is the Outreach Chair of the Milwaukee Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression and a rank-and-file member with AFT Local 212. Alan was born and raised in Milwaukee to Mexican parents who taught him the importance of labor from a young age. When he's not teaching philosophy courses at MATC, he spends his time playing soccer and organizing with the Milwaukee Alliance to make the city a better and safer place for our communities. And now, Alan represents the Milwaukee Alliance as part of a coalition to save St. Francis Hospital. Alan sets an example for all of us as a truly passionate and dedicated organizer. Let's welcome him to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
As Piper said, right, my name is Alan Chavoya. I'm here wearing multiple hats, I suppose, right? Outreach chair with the Milwaukee Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. Proud rank and file member of AFT Local 212. And today, I'll be serving as a representative for the coalition to save St. Francis Hospital. So to get us started, how about a chant? When workers' rights are under attack, what do we do? What do we do? I ask, what do we do? That's right. I'm very honored to speak today at this 137th anniversary commemoration of the Bayview Massacre. When union siblings from the Wisconsin Federation of Nurses and Health Professionals Local 5000 called on me, I couldn't refuse. The struggle that they've been leading through the coalition to save St. Francis Hospital continues Milwaukee's militant labor history, which is what we're commemorating today, right? Yes. 137 years ago, Milwaukee workers and supporters, they marched on the Bayview rolling mill, demanding an 8-hour working day. 8 hours work, 8 hours rest, 8 hours for what we will. That was their slogan. 137 years ago, these workers, they knew that power concedes nothing without a demand. So they organized, knowing that their employer would not provide better conditions out of a so-called kindness of their heart. Thousands marched, and what did Rolling Mill do? Well, we just saw, right? They deployed the local militia, killing 7 people, including a child. Rolling Mill's legacy is one that is aligned with violent repression of workers in our city. Whether it was in the 1920s or 30s, when the police would be deployed against the workers on strike, or whether it's the police today killing working class people, especially Black and Latino people in Milwaukee. That's the Rolling Mill's history. Our history, however, our history is the history of the thousands of workers, the brave workers who led that struggle 137 years ago. That's our history of them, of the 7 martyrs, and that's the history that the coalition to save St. Francis Hospital is carrying forward. The coalition was formed in order to fight back against the cruel and greedy decision of Ascension, Wisconsin to close down the labor and delivery unit at St. Francis Hospital. Exactly. This was the only L&D unit in the entire south side of Milwaukee, and they closed it down on December 23rd of last year. I suppose that's what this so-called Catholic nonprofit corporation thinks this, the spirit of Christmas is all about, right? So I say shame on Ascension. Shame on Ascension. That's right. But that's been part of their playbook, of Ascension's playbook throughout the entire country. When they decide to close down smaller community hospitals, they always begin by closing down the L&D unit. Ascension thought they could sweep this under the rug, right? They were counting on that. They were counting on being able to continue their terrible trend of closing community hospitals to drive up their profits. However, what they weren't counting on was a fighting union and organized community members coming together to fight back. The workers represented by WFNHP Local 5000 have been leading this inspiring struggle against Ascension with the help of community organizations like the Milwaukee Alliance, Young Workers Committee, Reproductive Justice Action Milwaukee, Students for Democratic Society at UW Milwaukee, Voces de la Frontera, Citizen Action, and even other locals like ATU 998. So let's give it up for these impressive fighters who make up the coalition at Save St. Francis. That's right, let them hear it. Let them hear that support. So, together we're carrying forward the long tradition of organized labor in this city that's willing to fight back. Just as those workers did 137 years ago, WFNHP Local 5000 and community partners have stood up to a greedy employer. We are organized and are demanding the reopening of the L&D unit. We're also demanding that Ascension restore all services at the hospital. That they fully staff and fund all services at all of their hospitals to serve that so-called Catholic mission of theirs, which is to provide quality care for the community. We recognize that, this broad coalition must be organized in our struggle in order to win. Early on, we targeted the president of Ascension, Wisconsin, Bernie Sherry. Sorry, let me backtrack. Former president of Ascension, Wisconsin, Bernie Sherry. We picketed one of his 3 homes, so much for being a man of the people. And, we drew a lot of attention to the unjust and dangerous practices of Ascension. And through this pressure and the ongoing attention that Columbia St. Mary's and St. Francis, these 2 hospitals, of Ascension have garnered in the media, Bernie Sherry and other higher-ups in Ascension have been terminated. This goes to show that when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. That's right. Recently we began demanding support from local elected officials in the Common Council. We drew support for a resolution urging Ascension to reconsider the closure of the L&D unit, and on April 18th, this resolution passed in the Common Council unanimously. I can proudly say that when organized labor and organized progressive community orgs come together, we get these kinds of victories. These kinds of coalitions, right, like ours, they can be effective when we are bold and we're willing to fight back and when we make demands that are deeply felt by the people in our communities. The closure of the L&D unit and the slashing of essential services make conditions dangerous for both the patients and the workers. And who are the patients of Ascension? They're primarily Latino, immigrant, and poor people. These are some of the people most impacted by the healthcare disparities in our country, especially in our city. Ascension has proven time again that they don't care for Black and brown communities. Remember what they did to St. Joe's on the north side 5 years ago. Ascension's greedy closures of our hospitals must be stopped, and they will. Like I said, they don't care for our communities. But you know who does care for our communities? The workers of St. Francis. That's why it's so crucial for communities and organized labor to come together. The workers at St. Francis Hospital have been militant in their fight on the shop floor. At our coalition meetings, I've heard countless stories from the nurses and the CNAs and the techs marching on administrators who come around flaunting their, big bonuses while the nurses and the CNAs are working with unsafe staffing ratios. Shame on them. But these workers, they're exemplifying a class struggle unionism. They understand that Ascension isn't their friend, Ascension isn't benevolent, and isn't willing to improve conditions out of the kindness of their hearts. Their desires are simply this, to maximize profits by any means necessary. So again, shame on Ascension. Shame. So as we continue today's commemoration of commemorating the people killed in the Bayview Massacre, we must recognize this. We must recognize that the major victories in our city to advance the interest of our people come from organized workers and community organizations forging an alliance capable of fighting back. Today, the struggle against ascension is a crucial one for our city. So if you haven't already, please join the Coalition of Save St. Francis. Our next meeting will be on May 16th at 6 p.m. at the WFHNP Union Hall at 9620 West Greenfield Avenue. So come get involved. Thank you all so much for listening to me, and all power to the people! All power to the people! All power to the people! Thank you, everyone.
Good job.
All right, feeling good. One more round of applause for Alan and the Coalition of Save St. Francis. All right, to conclude our program, let me introduce Candace Owley, who has chaired the committee that has planned this event. Not this year? That's right.
For many years.
Yes.
This is the passing of the torch. Can you tell? So many young people. It's fabulous. I want to, before I make my final remarks, I want to take one moment of silence because Joanne is going to lay the wreath, which, or somebody's going to lay it. She's pointing to somebody. Oh, one of the little children. Thank you, my dear. And so if we could just have a moment of silence while we lay the wreath in honor of the workers. Thank you, Jahmes. And thank you to Penny Miller. Penny, there's Penny over there. Thank you very much, Penny. There was a mention, I'm the retired president of the Federation of Nurses and Health Professionals, of which you've just heard quite a bit about. And one of the comments was about the ability to get legislation passed or ordinances passed in to support the work of the workers. And so I want to call up the friends of ours, the politicians that are here, because we have certainly one person who led the way on the at the city on getting legislation passed, the very legislation that was just spoken to. And I know Chris has comment about some legislation that she's got introduced at the state. So if all of the, not just Chris and Marina, but the others, and while they come up here, is Marty still here?
Yes.
I want to take just a minute, maybe personal privilege because I'm, you know, a senior here, but to honor and thank Marty Schreiber, who is one of our former governors. And Marty, I haven't seen him he's here with us to honor us today and to honor the workers today. And we appreciate having a good governor, not Rusk, the governor that we just saw, but it's great to have a really great governor with us today. Do you guys want to step up and say who you are?
Good afternoon, everybody. Alderwoman Marina Dimitrievich. It's an honor to represent our neighborhood and have this wonderful event every single year. I'm here fighting on behalf of our neighborhood and to make sure this city is the best it can be for every single person in every part of the city. So thank you very much. Happy to be here. And Candace wouldn't let me leave without saying what was already said by the speaker, but the Common Council unanimously approved that resolution in support of keeping the labor and delivery at Ascension Hospital there. We're just really concerned. We don't want to see resources leaving the city. We want to see resources staying in and building and making sure everybody can have the best quality of life. So I was really happy that we could do that unanimously. We don't do much unanimously, but that one we surely did. So thank you very much.
I'm State Representative Chris Sinicki, represent just south of here. And I just wanted to make sure you're all aware, Senator Larson, Representative Clancy, and myself did introduce a resolution to take down the Jeremiah Rusk photo from the Assembly Parlor. Once again, so I did speak in there Friday and cover it up, but I'm sure they took the netting down already. But it's a fight that we're going to keep fighting.
Thank you.
Copies are back there by the labor history table. Please take one home with you.
Take it to your union hall.
Yes.
Ryan Clancy, unrepentant socialist, state representative, as well as county supervisor for the 4th District, and I am just heartened to see all the folks here, not just here for our strong working class history, but also fighting for it today and tomorrow. So just thrilled to be here.
Hello, I'm Stephen Shea, Milwaukee County Board, District 8, which is also just south of here. I am also chair of American Federation of Teachers 212 Committee on Political Education. And speaking of Committee on Political Education, I don't know if you saw today's paper, but if you read between the lines, Scott Walker is clearly campaigning to be Trump's running mate next year. I'm not going to insult your intelligence. I think you know what to do. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hannah Dugan. I'm Judge Hannah Dugan. I was elected by you to do justice in the Milwaukee County Circuit Court throughout the county. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Bayview. I'm Chris Larson, your state senator. Very happy to see. Good to see so many of my neighbors out here on a beautiful day. One piece of legislation, a small piece of legislation I wanted to mention is the budget that's moving through. We still have a $7 billion surplus. So all of the time where we had heard from politicians, Republican politicians saying, we don't have enough money for your schools. Sorry, we don't have enough money for your services. Sorry, we don't have enough money for shared revenue. They can't do that right now because we have the surplus to invest back in the people. So keep the pressure on as this moves forward over the next 2 months. We'll make sure that all working people are getting their fair share, and the big one of making sure that Milwaukee is finally getting its fair share. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you very much. This has been a great day, and don't you think it's something that we've had crappy weather until today? Yes, it's wonderful. And I want to point out, I know Art's here, and Art was part of a campaign that bought these 7 trees that are starting to flower, and they are in honor of each. There's Art waving. I know it was more than art, but art was very fundamental to it. And some years they actually start to flower while we're here. And there's one for each of the workers and the young guy that got killed that day. So when you come by and you see that memorial, also think of these beautiful trees that are living memory. And this is what we try to do here today. Think about the past and the struggle that helped to make our lives maybe a bit better, but to understand that the struggle is never done. That we are, again, and continues to be in the struggle for better lives for working people and for the services that they deserve. And so as part of that, it's so important that we keep this going, that this event keeps going to help us remember these two ends of ours, where we came from and then the struggle of today and where we're going. In many years past, some of you might remember Frank Zeidler, who was our fabulous socialist mayor. He would be so happy to see all the socialists here today in the big sign. He would be. And, you know, until his last year, I mean, he had to be maybe in his 90s, he always came and he always made a pitch for the importance of this event. And he would always take his hat and begin to pass it around to collect money to keep our event going. And so we're going to start that off with this hat again and ask maybe a few other people to take some hats and bags and things and give what you will, you know, to contribute so that we can keep this event going year to year.
Whose hat is that? Whose hat is that?
Well, we're going to say this is our great Ken Germanson's hat, but it is in the spirit of Frank Zeidler. And Ken is going to start it off with putting some money in and then passing it out there. And I hope we have some helper bees with hats out here to do the same thing. And maybe Piper's going to say this, but let me also remind you before you disperse that just a couple blocks up the street is the Beulah Britton House. I saw the president here. Perhaps she's walked up the street now, Margaret. And they are doing an open house for us. And they have 4, in addition to Craig and David Drake, they have 2 other musicians up there too. So there'll be some fabulous music up there to also be part of this celebration. So Piper, are you back up?
All right, thank you, Candace. All right, we have reached the end of our Bayview tragedy commemoration. So I'll leave us with one more chant. When workers' rights are under attack, what do we do?
Fight back.
When workers' rights are under attack, what do we do?
Fight back.
All right, and let us all leave with keeping the memory with us of the 7 martyrs of the Bayview Massacre and keeping the struggle going forward. Thank you. We are going to close with Craig Siemsen with Solidarity Forever.
Thank you, Piper. And thank you all for being here. I want to first mention that a proper from the stage thank you to Jahmes Finlayson over here for... He's not just doing percussion, he's interpreting with sound, and it's wonderful. Yeah. And the other musicians down the street will be PK Harmony, as well as Will Branch, and David H.B. Drake, and Patty and I. Patty doesn't usually perform at these, but we're going to do some of our duo stuff. So we'll be going, I think, about 20-minute sets, so I hope to see you down there. So let's end this wonderful event with Solidarity Forever. Inspiration through the workers' blood shall run. There can be no greater power anywhere beneath the sun. Yet what force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one? For the union makes us strong. Sing it out.